It's madness in the markets. We got Gen Alpha just absolutely cooking in the meme coin trenches. We got AI metas are taking over. Bitcoin NFTs are flying. Man, we are about to have an insane year, man.
Bro, if you can't hold, you won't be rich, man. This is the times when it's like, wait, is the meme coin super cycle over? For you, it might be. It may be over for you. You might be done. Dude, yeah, this is where it's like, do you have conviction in this, or are you just trying to make a quick buck? And if you're making a quick buck, you might be losing money right now. So yeah, it is. It's interesting times, man. But people are hitting me up in DMs. I was talking to Jake ahead of the show, and I'm like, Guys, is this your first time going through a crypto cycle? Because this is situation normal. This is just crypto, man. Just got to roll with it.
Yeah, and Chris, how you feeling today? You've been diving into the trenches.
Feeling good. Yeah, this is, like Adam said, this is crypto. This is so much going on that you can't keep up. This is the chaos that everyone looks back on. These are the moments when you're like, wow, that's when the cycle started to get really crazy. So this is it, man.
Yeah, man. I'm excited for the next 18 months or so. It's going to be very, very interesting, but also excited to have this conversation today. I don't think we've had a lending platform on the show for a while, and Gondi seems to have a lot of attention in the Rare Pepe community, so much that they pestered these guys to support Rare Pepe on the platform. So I'm really excited to have Berga on stage. I also did send an invite to End, who I know is one of the co-founders. So, and if you want to join the stage or the Gondi account, more than open to join, or anybody from the Rare Pepe community if you want to come up and learn more about Gondi. Berga, what's good, man? Appreciate you for coming on, and also for adding support for Rare Pepe.
You're muted, man. There you go. You there?
I might have lost him. That's okay.
You might need to jump down and come back up.
Yeah, people getting rugged left and right. You know, it's wild because I actually was not familiar with Gondi, and then in the matter of like a 2-week time span, there was like 3 different people from Rare Pepe were like, "Are you guys on Gondi?" And I was like, "What is Gondi?" And then I went into the Discord and started bugging them started pestering them to add support, and they did it quite quickly, literally within like a few weeks, which I've actually pinned up to the top. And you guys could see the link. So if you're a Pepe fan, make sure that you give that a retweet, and also, of course, the spaces as well. Berga, you back?
I am. Yes. How are you guys?
Hey.
Thank you for having me.
Was good, man. Yeah, no problem. Technical difficulties is pretty much a requirement on Twitter Spaces nowadays. So, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we're just talking about you guys adding support for Rare Pepe. I actually was not familiar with the platform. So could you please just give us, quick description of what Gondi is, and then also maybe a little bit of background of yourself to provide some context to Gondi.
Yeah, absolutely. So Gondi is a peer-to-peer NFT lending protocol on Ethereum mainnet. We've deployed the first contract about 16 months ago, and it's been a great ride since then. I mean, we've pretty much become the largest player in the space. We've facilitated about $150 million worth of loans. Currently have about $70 million worth of NFTs escrowed on the Gondi contracts, and all of these obviously are NFTs from like different collections, from X-Copy to one-of-ones to doodles, punks, chrome squiggles, you name it, that people are using as collateral to borrow. And then, as you guys very well said, I mean, it's crazy times in the market, and people want and need liquidity. So we've been helping a bunch of collectors get the liquidity that they need and they want. And so the way Gondi works is pretty straightforward. You can either borrow on ETH or USDC. The way loans are structured are fixed term loans, fixed APR. Now, what's really interesting though is, one, there's no Oracle liquidation. So regardless of what happens with the floor price, particularly in these times of like very high volatility, your loan will not get liquidated. So as a collector, as long as you repay before the loan is due, you're good, and you're gonna get back your collectible, your artwork. And then kind of like the second big thing that we introduced in the market is this idea of instant refinancing. I'm happy to dive into details, but the TLDR is that while a loan is outstanding, any lender can pretty much take over the loan as long as they lower the APR for the borrower. So it's really interesting as you see some collections heat up, and there's more demand and a little bit of a battle between different lenders trying to underwrite all of these different loans.
Wow. Yeah, I'm going through the front page. We are also live streaming this as well for those that aren't aware. So that's why we're all talking through my account. As some of the numbers, 120 million in loans, 40 million in TVL, 2,000 loans originated, and a 30% refinance. The ETH market has not been too hot recently, although DeFi and NFTFi still seems to take off. For a while, it seemed like Arcade and NFTFi and some of these other platforms were kind of taking the lead, and you guys came out of nowhere. What is it that differentiator of the non-liquidation? Is that what attracts people to come over to Gondi?
Yeah, I mean, so maybe we can tell you a little bit about, I guess, like our background and the thinking behind Gondi, and pretty much like why we've built the mechanics the way we've done it. We came to the space as collectors initially. Then we actually started lending ourselves as individuals and other protocols, and we thought, hey, like this is actually a great way to earn yield on ETH. I'm probably better on a risk-adjusted basis than most of the things that we were seeing on the space, that are, I guess, like not just like chasing after farming, but actually trying to like underwrite an asset. And but at the same time, we also said, hey, we would not necessarily use some of the alternatives as borrowers ourselves, just because it's not necessarily very collector friendly. So we thought about different mechanics and ways that we could make borrowers and collectors a lot more comfortable with using their NFTs as collateral. So yeah, I mean, like the first big differentiator is the fact that like interest on Gondi accrues on a pro rata basis. So let's say you take out a 1-year loan, you do whatever trade you need or you have to, and then within 2 months you no longer need that liquidity. You can repay the loan, and you are only liable for the interest during those 2 months, not the full year. So that actually made both lenders and borrowers comfortable doing longer term loans. So what we've seen is, since Gondi has come into the market, our average loan duration is about 120 days, and we have everything from 1-week loans all the way up to 1-year loans. We even had at some point like a 5-year loan, which again, like it's still outstanding and it's kind of crazy. So that was like the first differentiator, which is okay, like as a user you get like full flexibility from an interest perspective. And then the second one is this idea of instant refinancing, where if you start your loan at a 20% interest rate, that APR may actually go down, right? So if the value of your collateral increases, or obviously just by the sheer fact that as you get closer to maturity, the risk of your loan may go down, then lenders will actually be willing to take that loan at a lower APR. So from a borrower perspective, it gives you a lot more flexibility, and you get this benefit of when you get instantly refinanced, you don't need to accept anything, right? So let's say you start your loan at a 20% interest rate. If a new lender comes, takes over the loan, the APR drops from 20% to 18%, and that's it. That's the magic of a Gondi. Like you didn't have to accept anything or renegotiate the loan. It just the APR just drops, and like we do see that a lot across many loans. And again, like that adds a big layer of convenience, because you don't need to be negotiating that much OTC before the loan gets originated. You can just take a good APR, and then hey, if market says that APR was too high, then your loan will get refinanced.
Interesting. Yeah, I see on here for platform, you have a lot of the higher end assets, CryptoPunks, Autoglyphs, Gazers. Is that because of the community that's somewhat coalesced around Gondi, or was this intentional by your platform to kind of go after the higher end assets?
Yeah, I guess a combination of both. Obviously, as contributors and builders of the protocol, we are chasing market cap, but then we actually just started within the communities that where we were collecting, or where we had friends and we knew people, and I guess just by sheer virtue of that, we started getting a lot of traction within the Art Blocks community, within the Punks community, And yeah, I mean, look, at this point, I think we have about 170 CryptoPunks in outstanding loans. That makes the combination of like Gondi's escrow contracts the third largest holder of Punk, right? Just after Yuga Labs and Flamingo DAO. I think we have about like 220 Chromie Squiggles, but for many of his collections, we're currently holding anywhere between like 1% and 10%, right? Like, I think we hold about like 8% of all Fidenzas. But again, like it was mostly by virtue of like, hey, helping friends or people that we knew. They unlocked liquidity. They were telling their friends, and I think over the last few months, pretty much the market has taken us to do a lot more loans within the one-on-one space, Xcopy and Beeple. So the last 4 months, we've really seen a massive growth within that collector base and those communities. And I think now, as you guys said, we've been getting a lot of demand from the rare purpose community, and I know obviously there's a lot of overlap of collectors, but we're very excited to see what this new support that we've released brings onto the protocol.
How did you? What was your marketing strategy? How did you actually, at the very beginning? Obviously, it's kind of like a snowball. Once it starts happening, and the punk community realizes they can get loans here, they're going to use you guys. But at the beginning, was it literally just one-to-one talking to friends and other people who you knew had punks and that sort of thing? What was your marketing strategy there?
Yes, pretty much. I think one of the things that we did was we bought a punk that is, Signori Gondi, and pretty much we took the first loan with that punk, and pretty much we were like leading by example and putting our own punk as collateral in the protocol. And from that point onwards, it was pretty much what you said, just like word of mouth, talking with people, reaching out to like collectors and friends that we knew, and very much growth, I guess, like in a very Web2 way or fashion. We do have referrals, we do have a point system and whatnot, but like we've been very cautious and we haven't promoted that much. I think for two reasons, but one thing which is very important is that we actually wanted to see whether people wanted to use the protocol and whether Gondi was adding value to both borrowers and users without any expectation of anything whatsoever. And again, right, like the best way to learn and grow and tweak and make changes both at an UI level for the application or for the protocol, because we've actually made a bunch of improvements. We've done we're currently on Gondi v3, which is the third version of the main contract that we've launched in 16 months. And the best way to just keep getting better is just like by talking a lot of users, and that has actually one helped us refine the offering, and then two just grow the protocol.
Interesting. What's your take on the state of Ethereum and the impact that it's had on Gondi? Heading into the cycle, majority of people are trading meme coins on Solana, or they're kind of minting ordinals or trading runes on Bitcoin, and the majority of the ETH community has kind of migrated to the L2s. What type of impacts that had on Gondi, and then what are the type of plans for expansion?
Yeah, absolutely. So there two things. One is like ETH. The way we see ETH NFTs is that there's still a very strong community, even though volume has come down quite dramatically from like 2021 levels, and I guess it's still TBD whether we will ever get there. I think meme coins are just a much better vehicle for speculation. I think we've seen that over the last 12 months, and I think people who are collecting NFTs are pretty much like diehard collectors who really value and appreciate their assets, and they're here for the long term. So, and I think that pairs very well with what we're doing at Gondi, because at the end of the day, anyone who's coming to Gondi to borrow against their NFTs are people who love their squiggles or their glyphs or their grifters or their Xcopy or their Nakamoto cards. So for them, it's about, okay, like, how do I keep something that I really like, and then can go and get the liquidity to play in any market that they want. So over the last couple of weeks, I mean, obviously we've added, in terms of expansion, we've added support for 1155s, and then we've also added support. We've created a dedicated wrapper for the old super rare contract that also holds some of the older Xcopy assets, lost robbies, for example. So we've had a lot of users demanding that.
Did you hear Lost Robbies? That's like Adam's favorite thing to talk about.
It's pretty much my favorite thing to talk about. I mean, I mean, I think it's a really smart strategy. There's almost no point in going against the low value items, right? And so you go after the grays. And I realize, and you realize it too, like some of the people, especially like punk holders who have lots of punks, they actually, in some ways, this is them accessing liquidity. But it's also maybe they want to get out of a position too, or they're not concerned about getting out of a position. It's really interesting. And especially when it gets into, whether you're talking about X copies or lost robbies or kind of these like, alpha grails, if you have $500,000 sitting there that only sells, every few months, and you want to go, you need some cash. This is like, it's really a no-brainer, right? It's more just like, can you as a platform ensure that there's enough interested people there? And it seems like you've made that kind of impact into like the art community, with people willing to give loans on pieces that they probably want, right? How do you look at it that way? Do you look at it as, are the people who are giving your loans, do you feel like some of them aren't necessarily interested? I mean, of course, everybody's interested in getting interest, but do you feel like a lot of people are like, oh, this is a way I can stealth collect these pieces?
It's actually both. And the lending side is very, very fragmented. So we do have lenders who are only using Gondi for the interest, and for them it's, hey, like, I'm getting 20% APR on my USDC or my ETH, and I'm very happy, but I actually don't want to keep the underlying collateral. And then on the other hand, yes, like we also have many very large collectors who use add-on wallets to lend on Gondi, and for them it's, again, like it's a win-win, because they either get interest or they end up with an asset that they really like at a big discount. But what's interesting is that the fragmentation that we see on the lending side, or I guess like the debt market, is very much the same fragmentation that you would see on the secondary market for like buying and selling items. Like there are lenders who would only do one specific collection in USDC up to 3 months. There are other lenders who that have like a very broad mandate, and they would do any collection lending ETH for up to 6 months. Other people who would only do very short term. So it's very much fragmented, and it's very interesting to see different lenders using different strategies to maximize yield. But yes, it's a combination of collectors and then just people who are trying to maximize their interest.
What's your take on Rare Pepe? Just want to dive in here. This is also somewhat of a pseudo expansion for Gondi, right? Emblem allows you to basically take Bitcoin NFTs, Dogecoin NFTs, whatever NFT, tokenize it, and then add that to the platform. We've been talking for about a month or two, before you guys added it. You probably had to take a little bit of investigation to figure out, how gigantic this collection is and the massive community that's kind of behind it. Before diving into, the technicals of Emblem, just what's your take on Rare Pepe and its place on Gondi?
Yeah, so look, I think the reason why we added Rare Pepes was just because we met so many collectors, right? And it's been a blast meeting, so many OGs and people who are genuinely excited about, the Rare Pepe community and love collecting and want to have like full sets for, series 1 or whatever series. So, it's actually a great expansion, right? And I think, as Adam said, like at the end of the day, like we chase market cap. We think that there's a bunch of different cards within rare pepes. Obviously, Nakamoto card being the grail of them. That again, like in my personal opinion, might not be getting as much attention these days, but a decade from now, many of these collectibles will age very, very well. And I think like what was also important when it came to adding support for 1155s was the fact that through Emblem Vault and through you guys, we're pretty much like also opening up Gondi to Bitcoin NFTs, right? And we also have a lot of friends who collect puppets or like node monkeys or quantum cuts, and I think those will definitely our collections are definitely high up in the list for to be whitelisted over the next few weeks.
Oh, that's awesome. I was just gonna say, what's your timeline for bringing in the ordinals NFTs, but then also when you're thinking about onboarding these collections, I mean, obviously Rare Pepes has now years of trading, multiple, many, $100,000 plus type sales. But when you think about like node monkeys or puppets, is it just because, hey, that's the market trend? These look like the winners on ordinals, is it kind of a gut feel, or do you guys have a process for like, oh, this is, or do you just look at like, hey, we've been contacted by these X number of people and they want a list or they want a loan? How do you kind of judge that?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's all of the above, right? I think one, you need like you do need somewhat of a trading history and trading volume. It's like at the very least 3 months, like where we don't necessarily add new collections. Just one, because they're still very volatile, and then two, it's much easier to underwrite things that have had like different mark-to-markets, over the years and through bear markets and bull markets, and then the more liquid a collection is, the easier it is to underwrite. So it's from one part of it is just having reliable on-chain data, and then the second part is having the demand actually on both sides, not only on the borrowing side but also on the lending side. And even before whitelisting Rare Pepes, like we did talk to a bunch of lenders in our community.
Did he just get rugged again? Ruggy McRuggy,
As you see, which is great.
He's back.
He's
We
back.
lost him for a second there.
Yeah, it's interesting. We've gone through this kind of process with a few different lending platforms about trying to attract Bitcoin NFTs over to the platform, because Emblem does have collections laid down for puppets and node monkeys and quantum cats and pizza ninjas and obviously all of the counterparty collections. There is obviously a native lending platform, Liquidium, and I think there might be a few others that exist on Bitcoin natively. But we have had a bunch of users who would like take their node monkey and then vault it and then go lend against it on Arcade, for example, for mid 6 figures because there is a higher liquidity profile. So it's always trying to figure out what's the incentive of getting a user to come over and basically vault and use the platform. Has Gondi gone about approaching incentives in any type of specific way, or have you guys thought about how to attract different types of assets over?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think there are many benefits for collectors of like different ordinal collections to vault and use Emblem and pretty much like borrow on Gondi. I think one thing is it's not only about like the experience itself and the benefits that we've described before, but for example, the one thing that you can actually do if you vault via Emblem and you borrow on Gondi is you can borrow USDC, and especially in a bull market, that's one of the things that we see a lot of demand over the last few months, particularly the last 3-4 months. Most of the loans that are being originated or demanded are in USDC rather than ETH, and that's precisely because people want to borrow USDC and then go long BTC, go long ETH, go long Solana, go long, any meme coin that you want. So I think that's one thing that you can actually do by by vaulting on Emblem and bringing your asset to Gondi, which you cannot do natively on Liquidium or any other native protocol on Bitcoin.
Interesting. Chris, what's your thought on Gondi? And I know you also participate in lending markets at times. Like, what type of strategies come to mind for this type of stuff?
It's really impressive that you guys were able to kind of spring up and get this kind of traction. I think the USD feature is really nice, especially for hedging. A lot of platforms were kind of missing out on that. What would you say the biggest kind of differentiator from your beginning strategy was? Were you kind of optimizing for lower LTV or term rates or interest, or how did you really kind of get into this kind of traction? Was punks underserved and you kind of went after that market, or how did you get that kind of initial traction? What was your focus?
Yeah, so look, we were definitely the new kids in the block a year ago, and at least on the Ethereum ecosystem, you had 4 or 5 different protocols. All of them had millions of dollars worth of collateral and were much larger than us. I think because we were lenders and collectors personally, I think we just built a product that we would like to use as collectors, right? We have NFTs that we really like, and we're not trading, and we're holding for the next decades, if not our entire life. And for us, it was really like, what are the mechanics that are needed for collectors to feel comfortable? One, and then the second one is, how do you actually enable a much more capital efficient environment? And obviously, there are a couple of things. One is the prices of NFTs are changing every single hour, or at least for the most liquid ones, and then for the other ones, maybe every few weeks or so. And we thought that if with the mechanics that some other protocols had, it was very hard to enable medium and long-term loans, and you would also not, and then borrowers would not necessarily benefit from any repricing, right? So we've done a few things. One is with interest being pro rata, that actually created a lot of demand for longer term loans, right? Then the second point was because we introduced this idea of instant refinancing where APR can come down, we created a lot more demand from borrowers, also for medium and long term loans, because they knew, hey, I don't need to be negotiating OTC that much. I can start a loan, and then my APR can come down. And then a third thing that we've also done, that we've introduced in Gondi V3, is this idea of top-ups, right? So you can actually start a loan. Let's say you start a loan for a punk at 20 ETH, and most punk loans were being originated at 20 ETH a few weeks ago, because the floor was a lot lower. Now that that collection has had a rally, most of the new punk loans are being originated at 25 ETH, right? So one of the things that we introduced for those people who took the loans at 20 ETH, one thing that Gondi supports is you can top up the loan. So you've started the loan at 20% ETH, at 20 ETH, and let's say like if floor goes up as it has these last few weeks, any lender can come and say, hey, I'm actually willing to top it up and go from like 20 to 25 ETH. And if a borrower accepts that, now they get 5 extra ETH, and they can do all of that without having to repay the loan and start a new loan. So it's really been about, okay, like, how do we create mechanics which are borrower friendly, capital efficient, but then also give both lenders and borrowers the flexibility that they wanted. And I guess we've pretty much built a product that we wanted to use, I guess, both as lenders and as borrowers.
No, I love the cash out kind of refi feature. In general, I think that you guys are doing a great job. How big is your team? Because like I said, it's kind of just super impressive that you guys are able to kind of make this splash within this market. You've already referenced that there's 4 or 5 major lending platforms within the same niche. It's kind of interesting that you were able to get traction. What do you think? Was it just the build speed, or just building as collectors? Because most of these lending platforms are collectors as well. So were you just able to get the products to market faster? So I see a lot of these features on different lending platforms, but maybe you guys were the ones to bring them all
Yeah.
under the same umbrella, or what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few things that are actually very unique about Gondi. I mean, like instant refinancing. Like, I don't think you have that anywhere else. I mean, you might have, I guess,
Like
yeah,
Sharkify.
it works slightly different because, but yeah, we need to get into mechanics. But like, what we consider instant refinancing is pretty much like lenders taking over loans from each other while the loan is outstanding. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think we did get a few product decisions right, but look, there's an amazing team across the board that is working nonstop. We're 9 people, fully distributed, and even though the team is small, I think the caliber of the team members is truly amazing. It's a blast working with everyone from the design team, the engineering team, the marketing team, and I think we've just been able to iterate very quickly. So I'd say like that has been part of the success, and then I think we've also been very lucky to get many great supporters from the get-go. People from like Danny, like Seedphrase, G-Funk, Phantom Scribbler, Tony Herrera, and like people who've been in the space for a very long time. Like pretty much like by spending time with them and like trying to understand like what type of product they wanted as well. And then being very vocal supporting Gondi from the get-go has helped a lot.
Love it. What do you think you guys are building for? Are you guys building for the NFTs of today and thinking that this market of PFPs and digital art is going to expand? Or are you kind of going more building for this today because this exists and maybe expand to more kind of RWA type of NFTs in the future? What are your thoughts within that realm?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're building the most capital efficient, debt market for all non-fungible assets on chain, and that obviously includes, I guess, like digital art and PFPs and collectibles. I think the reason why we've been focusing on this segment of the market right now is, as you said, like this is what exists. This is where there's volume and there's market cap. We do follow many projects closely, and I think as soon as there are market caps that are worthwhile, I guess, like chasing and focusing on, we'll definitely be looking into RWAs as well.
What are like more of your personal thoughts on how far does the PFP realm extend, digital art extend? Is this more of a here and now, or will continue on in the future, or will the whole kind of premise of NFTs going forward change?
I think, look, there are for historical NFTs and for some very relevant collections in the space, I think they've pretty much become part of the cultural zeitgeist, right? And obviously, culture is always evolving, attention is always shifting. But our take is that many of these assets are here to stay for the long run. And obviously, there's a lot of experimentation, a lot of collections, and with as with anything in life, many of these things will, many collections will also go to zero. So I think the beauty of an open market, like the blockchain, is that you actually do see a lot of competition, a lot of experimentation. But yeah, I think what we'll see is, at least on the PFP side, I think different projects will start having different approaches, right? Like you see things like Project Penguins and Doodles, who are very clearly moving towards a direction where they are partnering with large brands and like trying to engage their collectors and their followers with other brands that might not necessarily be Web3 native. And then on the other hand, you have Miladies, right? Which is a complete degeneracy. So I think the beauty is that you're gonna see people, different communities, different collections, each with their own twist to it. And again, like I think also many will just be completely forgotten in oblivion and will go to zero. But I think that's part of the beauty. I think when it comes to like some of the historic NFTs and what you would consider digital art, Look, I think XCOP, like artists like XCOP BB Paul are probably among the most important artists of our generation, and I think in the next 50 years, many of these assets will be very, very valuable and very hard, or most people will just unfortunately be outpriced.
Totally agree there. Just to finish that up, do you think that most of Gondi's customers have come from other platforms, or are they kind of just new to the NFT lending scene? Are you kind of expanding the market there, or do you think that just because you guys are offering a better product comparatively, people are choosing to go there, or new loans being originated that may have not been kind of serviced before?
Yeah, look, actually both. I mean, we've really grown a lot in terms of like when you look at, again, like, sorry if I'm going back to like punks, but we have like 170 loans active, backed by punks. I think out of those we have about 120 unique borrowers, right? So it's pretty much fragmented, and we've definitely onboarded many borrowers and also many lenders who hadn't used other protocols before. So for us, it's really about expanding the market. The NFT market is still small in the big scheme of things, and what we obviously there's been other protocols and platforms before us who have done a great job, continue to do a great job, and for us, it's really about just growing the market.
Yeah, historical NFTs are kind of Emblem's foundation. I was a big historical NFT guy also back in 2021. For those type of assets, it's really a time thing where it's really tough to have a long-term perspective when you're in the space where there's a new trend every 10 seconds and the capital's rotating into different markets. And so most people are aware of, I think, historical NFTs that are in the space now, but many don't participate because they're chasing something else. Does Gondi just have basically a long-term perspective when it comes to this? Is just like more people will come, or do you think it's something? Do you think the historical NFT community, or I guess these like historical assets, are missing something that's glaringly obvious that just hasn't been introduced to the sector yet?
Yeah. Look, I think they're just like different games, right? And I think the meme coin casino is very short term. It's a very short term attention game. And when you are thinking about or assessing any historical NFT, or again, like even any digital artist, it just takes time, right? Like, I mean, you can't expect. I mean, like Picasso didn't become Picasso in a day. Warhol didn't become Warhol in a day. I think very old, like when you look at, I don't know, like very old vases from Rome and Greece, like they did not become valuable within a day, right? So I think one, for many of these things, there's a Lindy effect to it, and then it's just a matter of time until one, people start like recognizing, or like things start being priced as they should. But again, like I think many of these things are not priced higher now just because not enough time has gone by, and I think many of these markets just take longer to develop. I think it's a very different game. So
yeah, I totally agree with that. I got a few final questions for you. One of Emblem's other popular historical collections is Spells of Genesis, and I think some of the people in the crowd would probably shoot me in the face if I didn't ask if you guys would be open to adding support for Spells of Genesis, which is the kind of considered the first NFT collection, which is also on Counterparty and predates Rare Pepe by about a year, and has two main assets, FD card and the Satoshi card, that continually sell above, I guess, around like the 30,000 USDC range.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think both FD card and Satoshi's card are amazing. Yes, that's also in our shortlist of collections to be whitelisted. And Phantom Scribbler is an advisor, and we work very closely with him, and he's a collector of Spouse of Genesis, and every time we meet with him in person, he's he's shielding the collection and seeing how important it is. I guess like from a historic standpoint. So yeah, I mean that's definitely another collection that we look forward to. Yeah, getting to know and meet a lot more people in the community, and then also support the create market for it.
Awesome. I appreciate that. And then just one final question is, if I'm somebody in the crowd, or if I'm an artist who wants to get my collection added to Gondi, what is the process for that?
Yeah, look, I think for anyone who wants to learn more, whether you're an artist, a collector, a potential lender, you want to get some yield on your ETH, just like drop over on our Discord. The team is very active. We would love to hear from you and hear your recommendations, any requests, and then we'll work to try to help you.
Awesome. I appreciate that. That's really all the questions that I got. I mean, we went through a ton of them. Berg, I really appreciate you for coming on. Do you have any final, comments or, considerations that you'd like to add, or maybe, any bit of alpha, if there's any that you could share for what's coming to Gondi, in 2025?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, first of all, thank you guys for having us. It's been a blast, to working through this integration together. We're really looking forward to support many of these, historic and very important collections that people can vault via Emblem. And then, in terms of Gondi, we'll be launching new, very important features over the next month or so. And then, the only thing I can say is, we'll also be pushing a lot more the point system. So if anyone is interested, you should just hop onto the Gondi server and learn more about it.
Absolutely. Add in those incentives as we were talking about at the beginning of the conversation. Yeah, appreciate you, Berga, and the Gondi team for adding support for Pepe. And the community really appreciates it. All the exposure goes a really long way for these historical assets. And everybody who is here, make sure you give Gondi and Berga a follow, as well as the Emblem account, so that you can stay up to date with everything happening in the lending platforms for high-end assets across all of these different blockchains. We have a show Tuesday through Thursday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time, and we'll be back tomorrow with another fun show. And then we'll be off to the races. So again, appreciate the Gondi team and everyone who joined us for this conversation. Have a good rest of your Wednesday. Stay safe out there and have some fun. See you guys
later.
Bye, guys.